Hey, this is Mr. Effect Films here yet again. So, we're going to talk about the movie Deadpool. Yes, I know, I'm super late to the party. Um, I guess I should explain myself before I get started. The reason I've waited so long to do this is because I just never went and saw the movie when it was, at its height in popularity as far as, when it first came out in theaters and everything. For whatever reason, I just never got around to seeing it. And it finally got to my local dollar theater just about a week ago, and I noticed it, and I was like, all right, well, I'm going to go check it out. And so I finally did today, and I thought it was really cool. It was a lot of fun. It was very funny. But the reason I specifically decided to talk about this movie now, because first of all, I should say, this isn't really going to be a review. This is more just going to be me talking about it. I kind of came, when the movie was over and I left, I kind of came to the realization that I was like, this isn't going to be a movie I can really review. This is a movie that I'm really just going to have to talk about more than anything else, which is fine, I guess. But like I was saying, the thing that really made me want to sit down and do this is because I just got done listening to Eric's review of the movie. If you don't know Eric, his channel's name is Blows Himself Up Dude. And I've done some responses to his videos in the past, and this is just another one, pretty much. But I just got done listening to his review, and he at the end he says, he really enjoyed the movie, thought it was fun and all that. But he front-loaded the beginning of the video with a lot of complaints, the main one seeming to be that he didn't think the movie was enough of a hard R to really be called a hard R. Because he was like, everybody's talking about how ballsy and risky this movie is, but it's not really. It's just a PG-13 movie with, with more inappropriate jokes, basically. I'm just going to go ahead and say I completely disagree with that. I don't blame him for feeling that way. Just as somebody who's listened to Eric's videos for a good long time now, I've kind of gotten the understanding of his sensibilities and the way he seems to think about things, the way he seems to view things. So the fact that he feels that way makes perfect sense to me. But I didn't see this movie that way at all. I thought this movie was incredibly ballsy and very, very risky. I can totally see why, because I think there was a point, I'm not entirely sure, I think there was a point when Fox was really strongly considering making this PG-13 instead of R, and I can definitely see why. This movie had some major, major ballsy moves. And I'll get into some of those here in a little bit, but, because Eric was mainly talking about how this movie compared to the comics is not as dark and as, the character Deadpool himself isn't as complex or whatever. And I think there is some depth and complexity to the character of Deadpool in this movie. Maybe not as much as there was in the comics, but as far as I'm concerned, that's not really a big deal. I didn't really care that much. Now, to be fair, I should also go ahead and say I have read very little Deadpool. I own a few issues, and I think I've read a couple trades here and there. I've read very little Deadpool. I know enough that I can say I'm at least somewhat familiar, but I can't really call myself a Deadpool fan as far as the comics go because, like I said, I haven't really read a lot. I've read very little Deadpool. But the other thing is that, he went on for a while talking about how, that scene towards, I think it's towards the beginning, I think it's like at the end of the first act or something, when he stabs that one dude with both of his swords and holds him up, for everyone in the audience to see, and he kind of has that monologue where he talks about how, he's like, I bet somebody's saying, but I thought this was a superhero movie, but he totally just shish kebab that guy. And Eric was like, but he's like, what superhero movie is this parroting or trying to satire? There are no superhero movies like that. This movie's got its head up its own ass or whatever. And the whole time I'm sitting here, because I'm listening to Eric talk about this, and I'm thinking, and I was like, well, but here's the thing, man. I don't think this movie is, or that scene specifically, I don't think that scene was trying to satire or parody superhero movies as they are. I think what that scene was doing was it was satiring people's mentality of superhero movies as they are now. And when I say people, I mean people who don't read a whole lot of comics, people who just maybe go see these movies or whatever. They have this, there are still some people who have this, understanding of comic book movies as still just being kind of kids fare. You know, they're something that adults will go to because, you know, they have kids with them and the kids want to go see it or something like that. There are still quite a few people who think that's all comic book movies are, and probably ever will be, in their minds anyways. I think that's what that scene was making fun of, because that's what I was thinking of when that scene came up, and that was because I thought that scene was really funny for that reason. I felt like that's what that scene was making fun of. It wasn't making fun of the state of comic book movies as they are. It was making fun of the mentality a lot of people seem to have about them. That's what I got from it. That's what I felt was being made fun of and being satired there. That's what I got from it anyways. But, you know, but besides that, I really got the sense that, you know, because, and Eric said that he's not a big Deadpool fan either, but he's clearly read a lot more than I have. The fact that he got really upset about, what's his name? Joe Kelly, I think his name is. He got really upset about somebody's name not being so much as referenced or even talked about, like in the special thanks section in the end credits of the movie. Like, he got really upset about that, and I was like, I don't know who that guy is. So clearly he's read a lot more Deadpool than I have. But I really got the sense, listening to Eric talk about this movie, I really got the sense that what he wanted from this film and what he would have considered to be edgy and crazy and ballsy is very different from what everybody else wanted, including myself, and what we consider to be edgy and dark. The fact that this movie was able to have a scene where Deadpool just walks up, cuts a dude's head off, and then kicks that dude's head like a friggin' soccer ball at somebody else and knocks him out with it. Here's the thing. That might not be dark per se, but I definitely think that was an incredibly ballsy thing to do. If for no other reason than just the fact that, you know, that's just not something you get in comic movies. I mean, how insane would it have been if we had a moment in, say, The Winter Soldier, which is easily one of the darkest and most serious superhero movies we've gotten in a long time. How insane would it have been if we had a moment when Cap just simply, you know, like say at the beginning when they're on the boat. How insane would it have been if there had been a moment where Cap threw his shield at somebody and decapitated them? And then after that, you know, Crossbones walked up and then kicked the dude's head, and it, you know, knocked somebody else over the side of the boat or something like that. This whole movie is filled with moments like that. There's a point, the whole opening credits of this movie, first of all, let me say, the opening credits were pretty hysterical. I thought that was really funny. But the fact that the opening credits is essentially this big, massive, epic car crash, and just everything going on in said car crash was just really bizarre and crazy. This movie was a lot of fun. Something else that I think... hold on, give me a second. Okay, I'm back. Sorry, I had to take care of something real quick. But something else that I would be remiss not to mention is the fourth wall breaking. Oh my god, the fourth wall breaking in this movie was hilarious. One of the best is actually at the very beginning when Deadpool, he's just sitting in the back of this dude's taxi, and he's flicking gum off of the ceiling, and he flicks it away, and it lands on the camera, and he actually takes the gum and moves it off the camera lens, which is actually pretty cool. But my favorite is probably I don't know if I said that was the best or not, but my favorite is actually later on when I think he's getting ready to beat somebody up. And he looks at the camera and he says, you guys might want to look away. And he actually pushes the camera aside as he gets ready to beat this dude up. That was hilarious. I absolutely love that. Another great one is later on when he's at his house and he has a little action figure. And at first I didn't know what it was, but on closer inspection you realize it's an action figure of the Baraka Pool version of Deadpool that was in X-Men Origins. And oh man, that was hilarious. Especially since he says this is my most prized possession, and you look at it, I'm like, that's Baraka Pool. I was like, oh my god, that was so funny. I thought that was so great. Oh, dang it. You know what? Hold on, give me another second. I'll be right back. Okay, yes, seriously, I apologize about that. I keep having to go do something, but But yeah, just I guess, like I was saying before, I think this movie actually really was something different. And Eric was talking about how well, I guess if you can pretend to be different, you can con people to go see your movie. No, I don't think this was a con at all. I think this was something very, very different. It certainly felt that way to me, and to everybody else clearly. Because here's the thing. I think Eric might not be taking into consideration here is, if that were the case, if this really were just something that wasn't different at all, and we were all just being conned to go see this, I think this movie's reaction would either be much more negative or at least much more mixed. The fact that the response to this movie has been so overwhelmingly positive, and the fact that it has become, first of all, the highest grossing X-Men movie, and it either is or is on its way to becoming the highest grossing R-rated film of all time. That would not be happening if we were all just being conned into something. But I think this all kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier, that I think part of the issue is just that what Eric wanted from this film as far as darkness and stuff is very different from what everybody else wanted, including myself. I don't think this needed to be this, dark psychological drama that I think the comics were at times, or something like that. Based on what Eric talks about as far as some of the scenes that he really liked in the comics, and I guess wishes were in the movie, it sounds like the comics operated as like psychological dramas at times, and I don't think this movie needed to be that. Not necessarily. I mean, if it were, okay, fine, I guess. I don't think this movie needed to be that, though, and I don't think it hurts the film at all that it's not that. But it's all just a matter of opinion, I suppose. Like I said, I think the main difference is just that what he wanted was very different from what most other people wanted, and and that's fine. To each his own. Because, like I said, he did say that he enjoyed the movie and he thought it was fun, but he just, I don't know. But like I said, I just felt like that was the thing that really made me want to sit down and do this, was because I really felt like I needed to respond. Just, and I'm not trying to call out Eric and call him, and I'm not trying to call him an idiot or anything like that. I'm just simply saying I have to disagree. I think this movie is quite well, but see, that's the weird thing. I don't know if I can call this a good movie, really, because it's insanely out there and bizarre and very out of tune to what I normally would want in a film. But it's very funny. It's very enjoyable. And I think I could easily see myself going back to see this at least one more time. So, you know what? So, yes, I think I can say it's a good movie in its own right. It's not traditionally what I would call a good film, but it's a good film in its own right, I think I can say. So, I guess that's all I got to say for this. Like I said, just wanted to kind of sit down and talk about this movie, because this is a movie that's really, really hard to actually sit down and analytically talk about and review, at least for me. Maybe Captain Logan will have a better time when he does a superhero rewind on this, but for me, I'm just like, I don't know if I can really sit down and review this movie. This is something that I can really only just talk about and, maybe, try to get out why I think this movie was good or not. So, but yeah, I think that's about all I've got to say for Deadpool. I think this movie is quite good. If you haven't seen it, well, you probably have, but if you haven't seen it, I definitely recommend you check it out at least once. For the record, though, do not take kids to see this. I've been hearing a lot of stories, and Eric mentioned this too. I've been hearing a lot of stories from people I work with about them seeing, little kids in the theaters and stuff like that. For God's sakes, do not do that. Do not let a little kid watch this. This is not a little kid movie. I don't care if they're wearing superhero costumes or not. I don't care if they've seen Ultimate Spider-Man and Deadpool's in that. I don't care. Do not let a little kid see this. This is not a kid's movie at all, in any sense of the word. Do not let a little kid see this, please. So for the third time now, I'm going to say I think that's all I've got to say for Deadpool. I hope you all enjoyed, and I'll see y'all next time. Peace out.